Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Today I'm going to start the last article of the chapter family. So let's begin. Social class, gender, and ethnicity as factors affecting the experiences of children in the family. So basically, today's article is all about the experiences of the children in the family, how children of different family and different classes can play their part in upbringing of a child. So today's articles reflect three basic factors. It's first of all, it's social class. For instance, you need to understand that before I get started. I mean, what is the article all about? It's first of all, it's all about the classes. Either a child belong to upper class, lower class, or middle class. So first of all, this is the first stage. I mean, according to classes, social classes, we need to understand how the different class make a different experience in upbringing of a child. This is the first thing. Secondly, how the gender can be effective in upbringing of a child. So second thing is all about the upbringing. It's all about the gender. So obviously, again, we have a thing to discuss. For instance, like it's a baby girl or a baby boy. So again, we need to consider something. Either we are talking about the high class family or the upper class family, the working class family, or the middle class family. And lastly, the ethnicity. So ethnicity, the region, the geographical region can also play a very important part, because there are certain things which are reflecting the culture. So when we talk about the culture or the traditions, so these are important factor in upbringing of a child. So basically, before I simply start skimming through our article, I just want you guys to understand what is our lecture is all about. So it's all about the upbringing of a child and what are the factors we need to consider. So first of all, it's social class. Secondly, it's all about the gender, and thirdly, the ethnicity, which part of the world we are talking about. So let's begin. Although historical and cross culture perspectives are necessary and useful, a further dimension is that of divisions within contemporary societies. This is the idea that children of different classes, genders, and ethnicity have different experiences of childhood. So let's social class. The class into which a child is born has a major impact on their experience of childhood. Hatchet study of Brazilian street children highlighted this by making a distinction between the nurtured and the nurturing child. The former are the children of the wealthy, for whom childhood is a time when they are looked after by parents, teacher, and servants. The nurturing child is the offspring of the poor, for whom childhood is largely spent looking after others, parents, siblings, and Widekin. The nurture child is one who draw upon family's capital, while the nurturing child is one who contributes substantially to that capital. In societies without such extremes of wealth and poverty, this distinction is played out more subtly, although class based experiences are always related to inequality, economic as well as the cultures. In many countries, some upper class children attend private boarding schools, which give them a very different experience of childhood from their working or middle class peers. According to Bourdieu, the economic inequality on which this is based, boarding school fee can sometimes cost almost as much as average full time yearly earnings, give a range of cultural advantages based on the social capital. That is how people are connected to social networks and the value that these connections have in adult life. Historically, middle and upper class families were more child centered, with the family resources, attention, and effort invested in a child's physical and social development. This cultural capital consists of non economic resources such as the knowledge, skill, and personal motivations that allow middle class families to see their children successfully through the education system. In this respect, working class childhood is frequently focused on here and now, an immediate reward that is talking something taking something whenever it is offered, such as leaving school at the earliest opportunity to take paid employment. Middle class childhood is characterized by a and future direction and putting off rewards such as staying in education to get qualification that will lead to professional careers. So the very first thing we need to discuss is all about the social classes. We need to understand how the different social classes can impact the experience of childhood. So we got two to three terms we need to understand. First of all, it's nurtured and nurturing child. So what is the difference between nurtured child and nurturing child? For instance, the example which is given in the book is all about it's the Brazilian street uh, children which are nurturing. So basically, nurturing child were those child which belong to poor families, which are experiencing poverty, and they are the one who try their level best to contribute to the capital of their family. On the other hand, when we talk about the nurtured child are those child who belong to upper class families, rich class families, and those families, I mean, obviously spend a lot of money, a huge sum of money on the upbringing of their children. So nurture childs are basically those childs which who belong to rich class. One thing, who are receiving the most of the family capital, I mean, in their upbringing. And the example which is given in this article is all about the boarding. So for instance, a person or a child who belongs to the boarding, to a rich class, and studying in a boarding, I mean, one can say that the average annual fee which is going to paid by the rich class to the boarding, there is something more than the yearly income of the working class family. So this is a huge difference. One thing. Secondly, what about the social capital? When we talk about the social capital, it's all about the confidence. It's all about, you can say, the non-economic factors which are involved in upbringing of a child. So for instance, a person who belongs to rich family or a middle class family, both classes have more opportunities to invest uh, the social capital. What is social capital is all about? Social capital is a term which reflects, I mean, non-economic factors. So for instance, I mean, if you're giving your kid the confidence, you're giving your kid the education, giving your kid some extra activities, spending special time with them, it means you people are investing social capital on their kids. So this simply boosts a lot in the character making, in personality making. So I mean, one can even say that the upper class and the middle class are those classes which simply give each and everything for the betterment of the character building of their children. One thing. Second thing is that these classes are child center classes. Child center classes mean, I mean, they just try to do whatever they like to, but the kids are the senior. I mean, they are the apple of their eye. So whatever is happening, whatever the preference is always given to children, upbringing of the children. So on the other hand, if we talk about the nurturing a kid, so nurturing kid is all about those kids which are in the process of learning, but unfortunately they belong to working class. Parents don't have that much time for upbringing. Parents don't have that much capital to invest on the upbringing of their kids. So those children are taken as here and now. What is here and now means? I mean, so if they are having an opportunity, have opportunity to do some paid work, so one can say that they are ready to quit school. They are ready to quit school. So one can even say it's immediate gratification as well. What is immediate gratification? It's all about, I mean, for instance, if they are able to get something for the betterment of their family, they can simply quit their school. They can simply quit their education and start doing paid work for their family. So this is the difference between, there are two or three things we need to understand. First of all, nurtured and nurturing. Second thing is social capital. What is social capital? Which factors are there which makes a social capital? Confidence, skill, knowledge, I mean, child centeredness towards your children. All these are social capital. Then, obviously, if a person is giving a lot of attention, or the kid is given a lot of attention, so get more confidence, more boost to his personality. So, these are the factors which are involved in the upbringing of a child while talking to those different social classes. So, second thing is the gender. How gender play a part in the upbringing, especially in the childhood. So, the argument that boys and girls have different experiences of childhood is based on the concept of contrasting different gender socialization. Parents often assume boys are psychological and emotionally different from girls and treat them different way. We can simply say, or one can say that demonstrated by the the conversation of the young mothers about the behavior of the baby boy and the girls. So there must be something which can be seen, I mean, at an early stage. So the things which are the part, or which are the symbols, is the toy. You can say, for instance, when we talk about the boys, normally boys like to play with cars, they like to play with weapons, they like to play the things which are more physical. They like to do outdoor activities. On the other hand, if we talk about the baby girls, they are considered to be a bit uh, weak, and so they are engaged, or they are taken at home most of the time, and they like to play with dolls and stuff like that. So the very first thing is the toys, which can simply give us an idea about the choices of boys and girls. One thing. Second thing is, parents consciously and subconsciously treat their children in different ways by associating different objects, behavior, and expectation with the different genders. So the second thing, it's all about the so first thing, it's all about the toys. Second thing, it's all about the restriction and the behavior towards the kids. I mean, it is quite obvious, and it can be seen in most part of the world. Is, I mean, for instance, girls are not allowed to go outside late night. This is the thing which can be seen in any society. One thing. Second thing is that it's all about the boys. I mean, for instance, who love to engage in outdoor activities. Thirdly, I mean, when they are normally taken as a biologically, one can say that girls are considered to be more naive. They are considered to be more kind-hearted. They are more emotionally more attached with others. So one can say that uh, it's all about it's all about the behavior. I mean, the biological behavior. We can simply give us some sort of idea about the gender. So toys, then it's how they are different treated differently. Second thing. Thirdly, it's all about the choices of the subject as well. I mean, girls normally because they are kind-hearted, so normally it is considered, I mean, at an early age, they are considered to be more soft, more gentle. So they are considered to be treated more softly, not hard-handedly. So I mean, they search for clues about gender appropriate behavior from the primary sources, parents, peers, and the secondary sources such as media. They also seek to discover why girls and boys are different. Peers shape and reinforce gender identities and different experience of childhood through things such as games that are traditionally played by one gender or the other. Similarly, shared activities and the pastime have gender meanings, connotation, and expectation. For example, a common interest in car, football, or rap music. Boys are fashion, cosmetic, and shopping. Girls create gender bonds and reinforce identity barriers. So obviously, there is one more sign. You can say that. I mean, the shopping is a kind of thing. Most of the boys, they are considered to be rough and tough. They love to have jeans and the things. They don't spend much time on the cosmetic. So on the other hand, if we talk about the girls, they are more concerned about their dresses, more concerned about the color of the dresses as well. For instance, if we talk about a boy, if the boy is not that conscious about the color, but if we talk about the girls are more, you can say, concerned about like pink, like baby blue, or things like that. So this is we have in the gender discrimination, ethnicity, how ethnicity can play a part in upbringing of a child. And we have where different ethnic groups have their own sense of history, tradition, and custom. These differences translate into how childhood is constructed and interpreted. As we have seen, different ethnic groups define the duration and extent of childhood differently, particularly the point at which childhood ends and adulthood begins. Different ethnicities also develop their own ideas about childhood division. In modern industrialized societies, for example, the idea of a childhood has gradually been extended to a large age through uh, factors such as participation and compulsory education. This has resulted in the development of different childhood categories, especially those who used to describe later childhood behavior as a teenager. Different ethnic groups may experience different level of poverty and affluence that place restrictions on the provider of opportunity for childhood experience. Ethnic groups develop different ideas about how their children should dress, speak to adults, which whom they can socialize. For instance, Asian parents in the UK place greater restrictions on their child's freedom of movement and association, particularly with their daughters and their British counterparts. So, about the paragraph about ethnicity, one can say that ethnicity can play different part in the upbringing of a child. So very first thing which is mentioning in this paragraph, it's different ethnicity has different perspective, they have different traditions, they have different cultures, they have different kind of social interaction. So so how they start the primary socialization towards their kids are entirely different sometimes, entirely different, because sometimes one can say that they are more religious centered, are more religious oriented kind of values are given to the kids at their early age. So they are sent to masjid, other places of worship, just to learn more and more. One thing. Second thing is that it is very difficult for the ethnicities to describe, where the childhood ends and where the adulthood started. This is one of the phenomena which is present in it. Thirdly, we can say that they are how they take the gender as well. So we can say that the ethnicity play a part. The example which is given in this article is all about like British. For instance, you can say that in UK, Muslim families have a very strict restrictions on their girls, because they are very conscious. The girls are not supposed to go outside about their particular dress. They are not supposed to give that much freedom which is given to the boys. Secondly, the last thing, even it is strictly observed, which kind of friendship their girls have while attending education, either in school or in college. So, um, the families as the workplace, and for some ethnic minority children in the UK, particularly Chinese ethnicity, but also extended it to Italian and Asian identities. This relates to how children are co opted into the family workspace. In the case of Chinese family running restaurants in the UK, Song noting how children are expected to play a part in the family's business, helping out in part of being a member of the family. So even we are here to understand a bit, how one of the minorities in UK they behave, and how family encourage their kids to play a part in upbringing, and how can the kids play a part while supporting uh, their parents business. This is I have for today right now, and after this I'm going to start the last thing of the chapter, which is all about the motherhood and the fatherhood. So till then, take great care of yourself, and khuda hafiz.